Oi, oi, you filthy swines! Get in here, sit down, and behave yourselves. I'm going to read some stuff. You might like it, I don't know. Maybe you won't, I don't know, but I will. Last I heard, the origins of humanity, if you're going with the scientific explanation, is about 500,000 years old. There are various other hominid species that go back further, but how old actually is humanity? Well, this article on the Daily Mail, written by good old Stacy Liberator, evolution debate ignited or reignited after missing link found in 700,000-year-old human remains. Scientists have discovered ancient human remains that could represent a crucial link in our evolutionary history. Fossils, including bones and teeth dating back 773,000 years, were unearthed in a Moroccan cave displaying a mosaic of modern and primitive features. Okay, so they weren't exactly modern humans then. Homo sapiens sapiens? While other cranial features such as the brow ridge, brain size, and overall skull shape remained archaic, more similar to early Homo species. All those very early Homos. Because the specimens showed mixed traits, the team suggested it was a missing link of African and Eurasian lineages that lived on both sides of the Mediterranean. The discovery also upends the traditional view that Homo sapiens first arose in Africa and later replaced other hominid species during migration. It supports the idea that early human populations left Africa well before fully modern traits had evolved, spreading across Asia and Europe and gradually diverging into distinct groups over time. One of the things about us as a species is we tend to bury our dead, so does it make it difficult to find specimens, or does it make it easier because we're actually burying bodies before predators can pull them apart? So you'd think there'd be more, although getting back to my conspiracy pig of the Younger Dryas, most of the real estate that we would have previously occupied after the melting of the ice caps and the floods, they're all underwater now. So even if we were burying our dead a long time ago, this is over 700,000 years ago, almost a million years ago, they'd be under the waves, wouldn't they? So if we're looking for a missing link, we're more likely to find it buried somewhere at the bottom of the Atlantic, maybe? Together, these characteristics place the Moroccan fossils at a critical point in human evolution, near the divergence between African and Eurasian lineages, and offer new evidence for how early humans developed their facial and dental features that would later appear in Homo sapiens and Neanderthals. The find reshapes our understanding of the timeline and geography of human evolution, showing that modern traits emerged gradually in multiple populations across Africa long before fully modern humans appeared. Researchers said the fossils, lower jaw bones of 2 adults and a toddler, as well as teeth, a thigh bone, and some vertebrae were unearthed in a cave called Grottle. I like that, that's a good word, Grottle, a hominids at a site in the city of Casablanca. The cave appeared to have been a den for predators, with the thigh bone bearing bite marks, suggesting the person may have been hunted or scavenged by a hyena. Paleontologist Jean Jacques Hublin, lead author of the study, said, "I would be cautious about labeling them as the last common ancestor, but they are plausibly close to the populations from which later African, Homo sapiens, and Eurasian, Neanderthal, and Denisovan lineages ultimately emerged." The fossils show a mosaic of primitive and derived traits, consistent with evolutionary differentiation already underway during this period. While reinforcing a deep African ancestry for the Homo sapiens lineage, Hublin added, the oldest fossils of Homo sapiens date to about 315,000 years ago, were also found in Morocco at an archaeological site called Jebel Irhoud. So the previous ones were 300,000 years old? I thought they were 500,000. Knowing the age of the Grottle A hominids fossil based on the magnetic signature of cave sediment surrounding the fossils helped the researchers assess how this population fit into the human family tree. Genetic studies suggest that the last common ancestor of modern humans, Neanderthal and Denisovans lived roughly 765,000 to 550,000 years ago. But where these ancestors lived and what they looked like is still uncertain. Now, the new fossils found at Thomas Quarry I shed new light on this story. While similar in age to Homo ancestor, these fossils are morphologically distinct, showing a mix of primitive traits and features seen in later Homo sapiens and Eurasian archaic humans. Homo antecessor, I've never heard that before, is an extinct species of early human that lived roughly 1.2 million to 770,000 years ago, primarily known from fossils found at Atapuerca, Spain. One jaw found in the cave was nearly complete and shows a long, low, and narrow shape with a slightly sloping front, similar to Homo erectus, with teeth and internal features that resemble both Homo sapiens and Neanderthals. The front teeth of the jaw were heavily worn or broken, but their roots were mostly preserved. The right canine was slender and small, similar to modern humans and much smaller than in other early and middle Pleistocene hominids like Neanderthals. Some incisors also fell within the size range of early and recent Homo sapiens, though their roots are longer, closer to Neanderthals, but similar to Homo erectus. Let's be serious. Homo erectus was a long-lived species of archaic human that lived from nearly 2 million years ago until at least 140,000 years ago, being the first hominid to migrate out of Africa into Asia and Europe. The molars on the jaw had a mix of traits. They resembled North African Middle Pleistocene teeth and shared some features with H. ancestor from Spain. But they also retained archaic characteristics seen in African H. erectus. Here we go. The other jaw appears more robust and shares traits with European Middle Pleistocene hominids and Neanderthals, while retaining some modern internal characteristics. There's lots of details here, Stacey, which is good, I suppose. Unlike some European specimens, the specimen's teeth were more widely spaced and lacked shovel-shaped incisors. These are not the kinds of things I'm interested in, teeth shapes. The teeth showed a mix of primitive and advanced features, including a molar size pattern more typical of Homo antecessor, Neanderthals, and modern humans. Beneath the jaw, more teeth. No, not beneath the jaw. Researchers found 8 vertebrae, likely belonging to the same small-bodied adult. The fossils were buried by fine sediment over time, and the cave entrance was sealed by a dune, enabling exceptional preservation of the remains. Hundreds of stone artifacts and thousands of animal bones were discovered in the cave. The Grot A hominid's human fossils are roughly the same age as fossils from a site called Gran Dolina near Atapuerca in Spain that represent an archaic human species called Homo antecessor. In fact, these fossils shared common traits. This is all about teeth. Blimey. The similarities between Gran Dolina and Grota hominids are intriguing and may reflect intermittent connections across the Strait of Gibraltar, a hypothesis that deserves further investigation. Hominids from this period possessed body proportions similar to those of modern humans, but with smaller brains. They've all been stung by Zika-infested flies, and their brain caves have shrunken. We have some comments here. From Stormfoe Dive, that picture showing a mud puddle on one side of a fully developed man on the other is very good, but one key point, is it drawn back to front? Man started perfect, even if science fights this concept tooth and nail and is degrading. Oh no, really? Are we sure about that? By generation. Well, I'm not sure that's how that works, but maybe. What do I know? I'm just a pig, piloting an even bigger pig because of the fallout from a trans-dimensional hyperpig. Anyway, so this isn't exactly human remains. This is a different species that had traits that were similar to Homo erectus and similar to more recent species like Neanderthal and Homo sapiens. So if we're interested in talking about missing links, perhaps this is one of them. It would be fascinating to know exactly how smart these ancient people were, because from what I've heard, Neanderthals actually had larger brains than Homo sapiens, but it doesn't necessarily mean they were smarter, it just means that their blobby brain was bigger. I've heard often talk that there's no missing link, and I'm not exactly sure how accurate the fossil record needs to be to convince some people that there are intermediate steps. There are other species of hominid in the past that are, they're very different to us, and they do look like intermediate steps between modern humans and apes and such. So this is just another higher fidelity, perhaps, case of that. Thank you for joining me, but that is it for now. Make sure you hit the like button if you do indeed like me. Follow me if you like me long time, and come back in the future to see what I'm doing. And the only thing I have left to say is Pigwig out.
Oink, oinkity, snort, snuffle, snuffle, squee, oink, oink, wee, squeal, snort, snort, oinkity, squee. Oink, oink, oinkity, squee, squee, wee, 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 snuffle, snort, squeal, squeal, oinky, oink, snort, snort, squee, oink, 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 wee, 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 oh. Snort, snuffle, oink, squee, squeal, wee, snort, oinky, oinkity, oink, oink, snuffle, wee, squee, snort, oink, squeal. Oink, oink, oinkity, squee, squee, wee, 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 snuffle, snort, squeal, squeal, oinky, oink, snort, snort, squee, oink, 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 wee, 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 oh. Oink, oinkity, snort, snuffle, snuffle, squee, oinkity, oink, oink, snuffle, wee, squee, snort, oink, squeal. Oink, oink, oinkity, squee, squee, wee, 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 snuffle, snort, squeal, squeal, oinky, oink, snort, snort, squee, oink, 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 wee, 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 oh. Squeal, squeal. Snort, snuffle, oink, re, squeal, re, snort, oinky, oinkity, oink, 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 snuffle, re, squeeze, snort, oink, squeal, oink, oink, oinkity, squeeze, squee, re, 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 snuffle, snort, squeal, squeal, oinky, oink, snort, snort, squee, oink, 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 re, 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 oh. Squeal, squeal, snort, snuffle, oink.